Good morning. Today I want to talk about what it's been like living in a small town. 2 years ago, I moved from a metropolitan city to a small town after having spent all my life in metropolitan cities. I just felt like I needed some sort of change, and a big change I got. So I just like to share a few things that I have observed and learned and experienced over the last 2 years. Um, First of all, I'd like to say that when you live in a small town, generally people in the community have each other's backs because it's so small. They kind of rely on each other. At least the ones who, well, what happens is there are two separate communities that form within a community. So the community that forms, one of the communities that form within these two communities is the people who have been there for a long time, who are born and raised, have all their friends and family who grew up there, and have never really stepped outside of that bubble. They have each other's backs. And then the other um, communities that form are generally people who have moved to the place and don't feel like they don't quite fit in with the ones who have been there for a long time, because there are their differences, and people just have a tendency to want to segregate um, into what they know or what they think they know. So people who have been there for a long time will generally associate with the old timers, and then the new timers will generally associate with the new timers, and that's just a large part of human nature. So a lot of the connections that I've made um, in this small town have been with people mostly uh, who are not from there, who have moved to the area at some point in their lives and have built a life for themselves or are trying to build a life for themselves. And we just have more commonalities with one another, I find, and people tend to gravitate towards others who have commonalities with them. Like we both know what it's like to leave everything behind and start fresh into a territory that's completely unknown to us. So there's a point of reference of relatability, which is what people generally look for immediately when they talk to someone. How can I relate to this person? Do I relate to this person? Do we have anything in common? So that's generally what I find in common with others in this small town. Um, Meanwhile, the ones who have been there for a long time, they relate to each other on with other things, maybe mutual acquaintances or friends and families, or their sports and activities that they participate in, and the community knows everyone, so they relate to each other through the people that they already know. Um, Here's an interesting observation. Uh, so for my whole life, I've spent the majority of it, in metropolitan environments. So when you're in a metropolitan environment, you grow up and you spend time with people from different parts of the world. There are different ethnicities, there are different cultures, there are different types of people. And for the very first time in my life, I'm actually a minority. And I'm a very visible minority because I'm clearly Asian amongst a very homogenous population. And I'm Asian with blonde hair, so I stick out like a sore thumb. And then I don't make an effort to try to appear like them to blend in. So I really stick out. Like I don't walk like them, and I don't talk like them, and then I obviously don't look like them. I'm just being myself amongst a population that is being themselves. So I noticed that I tend to stick out a lot, whether I like it or not, um, which leads to a lot of hesitancy, I feel, in people in trying to make a genuine effort to get to know me for who I actually am instead of what they think I am. Because people will see you from the outside, and what they'll try to do is come to an understanding of who they think you are by labeling you as something. Um, a very simple one when you're a minority amongst a homogenous population is, oh, well, he's Asian, so Asians are like X, Y, and Z. Um, Asians are like this, or Asians are like that. So I think I know how he is, or he drives this type of vehicle, so I think I know how he is, or he does this type of occupation, so he must be like this, or he must be like that. And I think we all kind of unconsciously do it to feel like we're in control of something that we actually have no understanding of. Because it's the easy thing to do, to look at someone and to label them and to not actually make the effort to sit down and have a chat and to get to know them and then ask questions and then listen and then respond to what they're saying, and not knowing what they're going to respond to you with, but being ready to react by being fully present. And it's such a simple thing, yet a hard thing to do for a lot of people, because it's easier to not have to make that effort. It's easier to see someone from a distance and think you know what that person is about, um, by pegging them with preconceived notions. It's easy work to do, because it takes time to get to know someone. And then, like, generally people have, well, not everyone, but generally people have different layers to them. So there are different dimensions to them. Some people are one dimensional. A lot of people are one dimensional in their thought and their being and their yeah, their essence and their way of being. A lot of people are one dimensional. So I think like a lot of we try to understand what that dimension is, so that we're in control, or we think we create the illusion of feeling like we're in control of our own lives by thinking that we understand our surroundings and everything about our surroundings and the people around us, because it's scary to not know. But when you admit you don't know, and you feel that level of just incompetency, it's like now you're actually ready to learn. Like, whoa, I actually know nothing about this person, or I know nothing about this environment. I feel so small and minuscule amongst it all. Now I can ask questions, and now I can learn, and not and not just come to a conclusion right away instead of doing the work. Mm, that's one of the main things I wanted to share, what it's like to live in a very homogenous population. And then on the other hand, I've also had people who've been extremely welcoming, and I feel extremely well received by them. And in fact, I've probably formed some of the best connections in my life being in this place. So there are obviously the two sides. I can't only talk about um, the negative without mentioning the positive, which is I feel like I've made a lot of lifelong connections, and I feel like uh, if I had to make a call and I needed someone's hand, I feel like I would have many hands extended out to me. Like I would go down a list and go like, oh, who can I call? It's like, oh, I can pretty much call whoever I want from this list, and feel supported. So I feel very well received in this community, amongst um, the people in which I have a commonality with, who we come to that certain point of relatability. And those people are generally not born and raised. They have moved to the area, because we know what it's like to uproot ourselves and go into the unknown. So that is a very small portion of my experience of what it's like living in a small town, moving from a big metropolitan environment. And there are things that I like about both environments, and there are things that I dislike about both environments. That is why I try to do my best to um, have a little bit of this cake and have a little bit of that cake and have a little bit of, yeah, to just essentially taste it all from everywhere whenever I want. Have a lovely day.